Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the slight delay. Thank you all for being here. Let's start the evening. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start the evening, please, with public comment. Can Karina Creedon please come up? State your name and your address. Yes, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Karina Creedon. I live at 252 Oyster Bay Road in Matinacock. I have 4 children between 7th grade and graduated from Locust Valley. So thank you for having me, Board of Ed members, Dr. Turnow, and families gathered here to celebrate your children. Tonight I'm here to discuss the Board of Ed's proposed decision regarding payment of fees for the Advanced Placement, or AP, and International Baccalaureate, or IB assessments. As you have already sent out some information, beginning next year, the Board of Education has decided that the district will no longer cover the cost of these exams at the end of the year, and the cost will now be borne by the families of the students taking the exam. There are certain limitations and other exemptions over the first year of being phased in, but starting with the 26-27 year, all students, including seniors, will be responsible for their own AP and IB exam costs. I wanted to let you know that my family and I are steadfastly opposed to this change for a number of reasons, which I will outline below. Essentially, this becomes a decision for each family to prioritize economics over education, which should never be a deciding factor when determining the well-roundedness and access to educational advancement for our children. Why this matters. AP and IB courses offer advanced academics and are key for college credit and placement. Our students in Locust Valley Middle School and High School have already selected their courses for the 25-26 school year before knowing that the exam fees would no longer be covered. For students on the so-called honors track, AP and IB courses are often the only advanced options available by junior and senior year to continue along with their course of study. Not taking the exam means that students lose the GPA weighting of 12.5% to 15%, which can significantly affect class rank, college admissions, scholarships, and other considerations. Economic considerations. Removing this funding shifts the financial burden to families and could reduce AP-IB participation, particularly among middle-income families who don't necessarily qualify as in need. This forces many families to choose between economics and educational opportunity. However, just because a family may not qualify to be considered in need by New York State standards does not mean that they can afford to pay for these exams. The estimated costs. The number of exams taken by students varies by grade. For example, 9th grade student may take 1 test, while a 12th grader may take between 4, 6, or even more. Over the course of high school, a student could take between 10 and 13 total exams, potentially costing a family between $1,000 and $1,300 by graduation. And an IB diploma candidate would have potentially up to $1,500 or more over the course of their high school career. According to a statement made at the last BOE meeting, annually the district pays approximately $80,000 in testing fees, approximately $60,000 of which is for seniors. Our annual Locust Valley budget is approximately $89 million. So these testing fees represent less than 1/10 of 1%, or 0.08% of our total annual spending. So to an order of magnitude for the district, it's quite de minimis. But for students and their families, there's an outsized impact economically. Impact on students in the district. Fewer students may enroll in AP and IB courses. AP-IB class offerings may shrink, therefore, while Regents-level classes could become overcrowded. GPA and transcripts may no longer reflect a student's true academic ability due to the loss of weighted credit. This shift undermines equity and academic excellence and may negatively impact the district's reputation and our home values. Locust Valley has always paid these fees to maintain our reputation of academic excellence and to ensure that no student is excluded from these types of opportunities because of economic concerns. Withdrawing LVCSD financial support for taking these exams will have wide-ranging impacts across the student body. Forcing students and their families to bear the burden of these tests will necessarily significantly impact the number of students who take these courses, and families will now need to make these choices regarding economics versus educational opportunities. Our own district historical data has shown that a majority participation across all academic achievement levels, across all years of high school, in every year's grades, have taken at least one, if not more, of these AP and IB classes. From a reputational perspective, many educational rubrics measure the success of a district by the number of students who take these AP and IB classes. Scores are tracked for proof of effectiveness of teaching and quality of education. At the March meeting, it was said that a poll of 37 other school districts was taken to find out how each school handled these fees. These districts were not identified as to which were reached out to, and therefore we don't know if the districts polled were similar to our own in size, demographic, economics. For example, North Shore
Pardon me,
School.
Ms. Creedon?
Yes.
You have a 3-minute time limit, so please.
Thank
end
you.
your
I'll wrap
comments.
up.
Thank you.
North Shore School District does pay these fees. So in conclusion, what I would ask of you is to reevaluate this decision to allow for more discussion, including evaluation of metrics to be taken on how class attendance and selection will be impacted, the makeup of the rising 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders and their likelihood of pursuing these AB IP classes, how grading and GPAs will be impacted by this change, what true peer district policies on these fees are. Further, from watching the discussion on of the board at the last meeting, it was not clear that a definitive vote in support of this change was indeed executed. So rushing to include this change in the 25-26 budget can be construed by many as premature as well. I appreciate your attention and consideration of my family and many other families' position on this, and hope that this will be reflected in the ongoing policy as it is continued to be reevaluated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Creedon. We'll move on now to the student representatives report. Jason?
Good evening to the Board of Education. Unfortunately, Student Government Vice President Sienna Cinch is unable to make it due to her sports game. Nonetheless, we would like to thank you for having us here tonight. To begin, the DECA team at Locust Valley has displayed immense growth as they traveled to Rochester and participated in New York DECA's 65th Annual State Career Conference. Congratulations to the numerous students who were praised for their hard work and earned awards. Juniors and sophomores explored work interests during the career fair hosted on March 12th in the gym. There was also a college fair held on April 10th, which provided students with the opportunity to speak with admission representatives. Also, thank you to Locust Valley's Girls Group for their community service to do arts and crafts with the Sunrise Assisted Living Home. Most importantly, the Locust Valley School District welcomed New York State Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado and State Assemblyman Jake Blumenkranz for a civics table discussion on March 28th. District leaders from Cold Spring Harbor, East Meadow, Jericho, Hempstead, Massapequa, and Oyster Bay also joined the discussion. During the roundtable discussion, students had asked the Lieutenant Governor and Assemblyman questions regarding their positions and their inner workings of the government. Also, the Model UN students brought 8 awards back following their conference on April 5th at Malvern High School. Congrats to these students who have shown amazing progress. Additionally, the arts program is thriving. In order to prepare students for the collaborative concert with Hofstra University's Chamber Choir, these students worked with the university's director and sharpened their skills as performers. On March 21st and 22nd, the Locust Valley Jesters exceeded expectations as they had an amazing performance in their musical Once Upon a Mattress. Congratulations to the Jesters for their amazing performance. Further, the Locust Valley Film Festival welcomed over 10 schools on Long Island to compete for awards in many different categories. Locust Valley's filmmakers took home 19 awards. The Locust Valley seniors had an extremely successful fashion show. As the seniors wore a variety of styles from local boutiques, they were able to raise a significant amount of money for their grade and build morale as the school year begins to come to an end. Welcome back to the 28 students who traveled to Switzerland over the spring break. The experiences allowed them to learn the culture of Switzerland and keep these memories past their high school years. Thank you to the board for having us once again. We hope you have a great night.
Thank you. Next, we'll have the All-County Art Student Recognition. Emery?
Hello and good evening. My name is Amory Bonaspina, and I am the Coordinator of Instructional Technology in the Fine Applied Arts here at Locust Valley. I would like to thank Dr. Turnow, the Board of Education, the community, parents, and students for having me here tonight to recognize the accomplishments of some of our exceptional art students who were accepted into a variety of different art shows. So to start us off this evening is the NYSBA, the New York State School Boards Association Student Art Exhibit, which is displayed at their annual convention in Buffalo each year. This year is in October. This exhibit is presented by NYSADA, New York State Art Teachers Association, and the following slides are from their featured exhibit. Students, as I call your name, please come up, get your certificate, and then we'll take a picture at the end. So first, Angelina Gregoriak. Olivia Wild. Annemie Germans. Bojena Gregoriak. And Lillian Thompson. Next, we will be celebrating a student who had his photograph featured in the We the Public Engagement, Action, and Each Other exhibition hosted by the School of Visual Arts in New York City on Saturday, November 2nd in 2024. I'd like to invite up De Niro Singe. We will now be recognizing 4 students who had their work displayed in the 2024 Nassau County High School Student Juried Art Competition and Exhibition. This exhibit was on display in late October, early November at the Art Guild of Port Washington. First up, Annemie Germans with her work Growth and Decay. Maeve Germans. Angelina Gregoriak. And Julia Peixoto. I forgot to mention that Annemie actually got an honorable mention at this exhibit as well, so congratulations. This year we had 15 students selected for the Art Supervisors Association's 2025 All-County Art Exhibition. This exhibit, which took place on Sunday, March 19th at Herricks High School, honors Nassau County student artists from kindergarten through grade 12. We are very proud of our student artists, and I will now call them forward to be celebrated. First, we have Madeline Salinas Jacco. Anthony Palacios Alvarados. Juliana Ruedas. Ariana Thorpe, Abigail Madden, Naomi Smith, Annemie Germans, who is also our Senior Scholar Award recipient, Julia Peixoto, Jeffrey Cruz Herrera, Ana Maria Vizola, Olivia Giannavinello, Isabella Bartolotto, Allison Kelly, Shannon Aguirre, Haitian Cotton, let's give another round of applause for our ASA All-County Art students. Next up, we will celebrate our students who were selected to have their artwork displayed in the Colors of Long Island 26th Annual Student Art Show, which was on display from February 20th to May 18th at the Long Island Museum in Stony Brook. First, we have Diana Madiaga Santos, Louise Vaughn, Lucia Martinkovic, Kaya Quigley, Nicoletta Friedrich, Caitlin Capobianco, Up next, we will celebrate the students accepted into the Atelier at the 4th Annual Flower Field Juried High School Art Show. The artwork was on display February 27th until March 27th. Congratulations to the following students. Nicoletta Frederick, again. Emery de Lauzon. Olivia Wild. Annemie Germans. Ava Becker. Chloe Arata. Callie Frazier. Molly Bowden. Angelina Gregoriak. Tobias Lamb. Ishnal Abid. Hamna Abid. Abraham Diaz Gomez. And Millie Bonterre. I'd like to call up Annemie Germans one last time for her work in the Kindred Spirits art exhibition. Now, before we celebrate our final group of students, I just want to acknowledge my wonderful art department. You can see it's been a tremendous amount of art shows and students entered, and without them, this would not be possible. So I want to thank Dana Ettinger, Donna Chaplin, Melanie Mooney, Margot Ryan, Thomas Camilleri, and Andrew Hornberger for all of their work with our students, helping them get into these art shows and shepherding them to be the artists that they are. I also want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Tish, my wonderful clerical who helped put this all together, and Mr. Packard here for his help with the certificates and handing them out. So much appreciated. All right, so we have Art in the Heart, which took place at Adelphi University, and there will take place June 2nd to June 18th. And first, we have our third grader, Gia Adwar from Locust Valley Intermediate. Michaela Ramirez from Bayville Intermediate. Mary Wendell from Bayville Intermediate, 4th grade. Connor McDavitt from Locust Valley Middle School, 7th grade. John Dembowski, also from Locust Valley Middle School. Charlie Rotolo Jampol, also from Locust Valley Middle School. Marcus Petroselli from AMP. Marcel Alcara from Locust Valley Middle School, 6th grade. Robert or Bobby Lombardi from BP, second grade. Julia Pashota from Locust Valley High School, grade 11. And from Locust Valley High School, Anastasia Petrescu. And our final student artist to be celebrated this evening, Sophia Armheim. Once again, congratulations to all of our student artists. And thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Congratulations to all the students again. It's always a wonderful part of our evening to have these types of ceremonies. We're going to continue. We do understand that there are bedtimes and there are homework, so please, we do understand that, but we welcome you to stay as well. We're going to continue on with, next up, our superintendent's report. Dr. Turnow.
So I hope everyone had a wonderful break and they got to relax and catch up with family and friends. I'm going to stay in the same vein that we've been talking about. Very significant. I'd really like to report that the Locust Valley High School took home 19 of 41 awards at its 19th annual film festival, which was just really judged by industry officials. The festival, which 13 surrounding school districts attended, received over 200 submissions, and the program scholarship was to Five Towns College for this summer. Mr. Boucher, who's filming this right now, of course, has been involved with this for 9 years, and he is really attributed to this program and said how much he has seen our students grow. But what I think is really important to mention that all of our winners in these categories receive full scholarships for the 2025 Summer Scholarship Program at Five Towns College. So I just want to reach out and say, congratulations to the students that did that. That is quite an accomplishment for us to get 19 out of the 41 awards. So I'm very proud of that. We're going to now invite up Dr. Cavellos, and she is going to do a presentation this evening on special education.
Thank you, Dr. Turnow, Board of Education, for having me here tonight. I wanted to give you an update on the special education department, where we are this year and where we are hoping to be next year, and where we're planning to be next year. So the objectives of this presentation are really to go through what our guiding principles are, our continuum of services, the programs we have, our enrollment data, the professional development we've been engaging in, and the future in the special education department. So our guiding principles in the special education department have always been, at least I know it was something that I inherited when I came here, and as long as I've been here, is to ensure that our students are receiving quality instruction in the least restrictive setting. We want them to have the same opportunities for educational advancement and achievement as their typically developing peers. We want them to build independence and self-advocacy skills so that they can take that into the future And we really want our environment to be inclusive and to promote respect and understanding for all of our students. So in the world of special education, there's a continuum of services and what we call least restrictive environment. So we go from most restrictive to least restrictive. Related services only at the top would be the least restrictive environment, and then we move down the continuum towards the most restrictive, which would be considered home instruction. We have students at every level in our district, so we do offer the full continuum at varying degrees depending on the building that we're in. So I just kind of go through each of our school buildings and what we have in place this year based on the cohort of students that are attending that building. So at Bayville Primary, we have resource room, we have integrated co-teaching, we have a couple of special education classes that are of a 12-1-2 ratio. This year we have a K-1 combined and a second grade class. And then we have our self-contained 8-1-2 class, which is our life skills students. Of course, we also have related services. We have students who may receive only speech in each of our primary buildings. At Ann MacArthur Primary this year, we only have integrated co-teaching. I do also want to point out that our self-contained or special classes are only on the Bayville Elementary side. It's been that way since I've been here, and we have students who attend there but may also live in the Locust Valley area. At Bayville Intermediate, again, we have resource room, integrated co-teaching. We have 2 sections of self-contained 12-1-2 class ratio. This year it's divided, there's a 3rd grade class and then a 4-5 combined. The way we make that determination every year is really based on the cohort of students that we have. So it's, if we have more students in a specific grade level, we would kind of separate it out that way to make sense. And then we have our 8-1-2 there as well. Locust Valley Intermediate School. This year we have consultant teacher services, resource room, and integrated co-teaching. Locust Valley Middle School, again, we have the full continuum of services. We have our self-contained classes or our special classes are offered in the core subject areas. It so happens that this year in 8th grade, we only have self-contained classes in math and English. Again, that always depends on the cohort and the need that we have according to that year, the students in that grade level. And Locust Valley High School. Well, again, we have students receiving from consultant teacher services all the way up to our ungraded 8-1-2 class. The integrated co-teaching classes, again, there are for our Regents classes. So that would cover algebra, geometry, all of those courses that would end in a Regents exam, allowing our students to receive a Regents diploma. We also have students that are out of district. Currently, we have 8 students at the elementary level, 4 at the middle school level, and high school. We have 20 students. Now, this is based on our October snapshot data. So at the beginning of every year in October, we have what we call our Beds Day, and that's where we collect our data which is what goes up to the state and the school report card is based on. So these were our numbers at that time. Since then, we have added a couple of students to our out-of-district numbers. Our classification rate at every building. This hasn't changed much since last year. I would say it's remained pretty stable. As you can see, our AMP and LLVI, we have lower rates there because we don't have our self-contained classes there. I also have included Portledge here. It is a private school within our region, within our area. So we are responsible for providing special education services to those students, whether they're our resident students or not. So we currently have 53 students with IEPs at Portledge that we offer services to. Now the district is reimbursed by the districts of their residents for the services that we provide. CPSC, again, we had 37 students in October. Since then, we've had another 22 added to our CPSC numbers, so it's a lot greater than that at this point.
Effie, on that slide, the number of students with 504 plans, is that a subset of the students with the IEPs, or is that
No,
that's
separate.
That's separate.
Right, so you could see that 6% of our population has a 504 plan, but 21%. We're still pretty high as far as classification rates go in comparison to the rest of Nassau County.
Do you have a comparison from prior years?
I do. I'm actually holding last year's in my hands. Yeah. So last year, our classification rate was 20%. Here we have-
overall?
Sorry?
20% overall, the whole district?
Yes,
And what is it this year?
21%. Mind you, this year, and I don't know that it makes that much of a difference, but in a district of our size, every student counts because statistically, every student adds to the percentage. We have had to include students who are past the age of 21. That it was something that recently came into law, that we had to service students up until their 22nd birthday rather than their 21st. So that could also add to that.
It's just a really, I don't know if this is working or not. There's just, I know we've always had the special ed classes on one side of town, but that's a really big percentage. That's a quarter of the kids that are classified in one building. That's really not a normal bell curve. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
It's just, that's a lot.
Sure. I don't know, actually.
You can go ahead, John.
Okay.
Write it down, John.
No, go ahead, John.
What do you attribute the increase from 2020 to 2023?
Excuse me? From
Go back to the last slide, the one you just had up.
this one?
No, the one with the bar graph, yeah.
So, what,
Okay, so this is the classifications.
right,
So this shows you, this is really just our breakdown of the different classifications that our students have in special education. There are 13 different classifications that students could have IEPs for. This is pretty typical. Generally, you would see mostly learning disabled students, other health impaired, speech language impairment, and autism. Those are the four that are the most common classifications. And we've pretty much stayed pretty stable in most of them. So this is a very important statistic that we look at. The state of New York has what we call a blueprint for special education. And every year they look at our data and they hold us responsible for making sure that we are educating students in the least restrictive environment. I know that they're talking right now about coming up with, new criteria and a new method, this point system of rating districts according to some of these measures, that is going to be more stringent than what they have been in the past. And I guess we're all going to see what that looks like now. But basically, we're tasked at making sure that students in the least restrictive environment. So when we look at our analysis of where our students have been educated, I think we're doing a pretty nice job of trying to make sure that we are keeping them in mainstream settings as much as possible. This is for our preschool population. So RP is a regular program, is what it stands for. So the first section would be that students are in a regular program for more than 10 hours a week. The second one would be that, and are receiving their services within that program. The second one is that, bless you. that they're in a regular program for more than 10 hours a week, but are receiving their services somewhere else. The third column is they're in a regular program for less than 10 hours a week, but they're receiving their services there, and so on and so forth. So most of our students are receiving services within our regular preschool program, receiving either speech or OT or special education itinerant services. But we do have some students that are in separate schools or programs because they need more intensive support. And this is for our school-aged students. Again, our goal is to have most of our students that are 80% or more of the time being educated in a regular education setting. So this is our staff by building. We have one additional agency speech teacher that we are currently looking to replace with a district employee. So we are looking to hire another speech teacher to take over that agency person's caseload. Our teaching assistants and teachers' aides. This is something that we've been working on since last year. Prior to last year, we only had teaching assistants in the district. So, we really determined that there needed to be a differentiation in these two roles because there were many teaching assistants who were actually acting as teachers' aides. So we've been working with HR and with our CSE meetings to make sure that students are being assigned either a teacher's aide, if that's what they need, or a teaching assistant, and to make sure that we're making that differentiation.
Effie, can you lay out that distinction for us? What is the difference between an assistant and an aide?
So a teacher's aide could pretty much do most of what we expect our teaching assistants to be doing, providing behavioral support in the classroom, providing, even some educational support with testing accommodations, helping students get through their work, maintaining their attention, safety purposes. A teaching assistant is really someone who could function like another teacher in the classroom. So in my previous experience, it's always been that the teaching assistant was, if you have a 12-1-2 class, it would be those two people who were in there with the teacher, helping them or assisting in their lesson plans or carrying out their lesson plans. Whereas if a student needed one-to-one support, that usually tended to be a teacher's aide who would be like their individual support. So mostly it's for students who it's for instructional purposes. Right, and there is a certification. So a teaching assistant has to be certified, whereas a teacher's aide does not. And this is some other district PPS stuff that we have. We have an occupational therapist that is a district employee. We have 2 BCBAs. We have, and then we have other contracted services through speech, OT, and PT through agencies. Again, we've been pretty stable with our staffing trends. I think we had an increase with special education teachers when we introduced ICT to all of the levels at its fullest. And it kind of looks like we're starting to level out to see how that falls depending on the population.
Sorry, Effie, does that mean you won't have ICT? We won't have, there's not a need for ICT?
No, we do, but there
anymore?
was no ICT like 4 or 5 years
Right.
ago. So it was actually right before I came in, they implemented ICT. I think it
Right.
was the year before me. So this is probably the 5th year, and I think that up until we got to the point where it was properly staffed, we were adding staff, but we're at a point that it's
Okay.
continuing. It's just that staffing has kind of,
Okay.
we don't need
Okay,
to really
got it.
add more staff at this
Okay.
point. So some of the professional development that we've been focusing on, at least since I've been here, is continuing with the co-teach training. We're on year 5 this year, and I know that it seems like a long time to be doing this, but we have been really trying to focus in on either new co-teach partnerships or making sure to tweak teachers who might need more support with differentiation and trying to implement those strategies in their classroom. We've been working hard at IEP goal writing and progress monitoring and making sure that our teachers are writing goals that make sense, that are data-driven and measurable so that we can make more informed decisions at CSC meetings. This is our second year on transition planning, making sure that appropriate transition assessments are being done with our students at the secondary level to help them plan for their post-high school life, and that's reflected on their IEPs. We've also been engaging in the school-wide reading program, professional development that Janine's been doing through the Curriculum Instruction Office. All of our teachers are implementing that even in their self-contained classes, our 1212 classes. Our teachers have been engaging in Foundations, Just Words, Wilson Training, Leader in Me this year, so we've really been in the thick of it with everyone else. So some of the things that we're looking forward to, starting July 1st, we're going to be reinstating an elementary assistant director of elementary and preschool and an assistant director of secondary under my supervision, so that we could be able to really properly divide the responsibilities and have people overseeing those areas consistently. We are going to continue to enhance transitional service at the secondary level. We've really focused a lot on our life skills program, which has grown pretty nicely over here at the middle school and high school. We have students going out to different vocational settings. We have them participating in vocational opportunities within the district. The teachers are constantly getting together and coming up with new ideas and new opportunities for our students and what that could look like for them. So that's all very exciting. But also developing opportunities and partnerships with Access VR, which is an agency on the outside that we provide for all students with disabilities. It doesn't matter what level of disability you have. You actually don't even have to be classified, so that they can have some kind of vocational support if they need it after high school. We obviously are continuing to build our relationships, collaborate with our out-of-district placements. We have students that are at many different settings. We have students at BOCES, we have at private schools, other school districts. We have students out of state even at residential programs. We're continuing to make sure that we're visiting all of those programs and making sure that if and when our kids are ready, we can bring them back. That's very important to us too. And same with our preschool. We feel like it's important to be developing relationships with our families at the preschool level so that we can help set students up appropriately coming in. And again, we continue to just develop our relationships with our colleagues in the other department areas and make sure that we're all in on this together, which has always been the goal. And that's it. Questions?
Thank you, Effie. Are there any questions from the board?
Effie, thank you. This was a great presentation, very informative. On the slide, Future Special Education Department, I see a lot of great bullets that outline to me what you're focused on in terms of next steps. But just sort of like anecdotally, what do you foresee as the vision of special ed? Just like really off the top of your head, how do you want the area to thrive, to be sustained, to continue to improve under your leadership?
So it's very important to me that our students are engaged in all of the same activities and opportunities that every other student is. And that's always been my focus and my goal since I've been here. I think Dr. Sampino and I have worked very well together from the beginning to make sure that every child, regardless of whether or not you're classified or in special education or not, is receiving the support that he or she needs. So for me, that's always been the number one priority. So I don't know if you could call that special ed or not. It's for all students. I feel that in the same vein, it's important for our students to be in settings that are not restrictive, so that to have, for example, two students in a self-contained class because we feel like they might need more support than others is not necessarily the right thing for them, because then you don't have role models that you could aspire to or that you could learn from. So I think that, keeping students in as normal settings as possible with peers that could provide them social opportunities and academic opportunities, just like everyone else, is important. And so that every student that we have at any level that they are can leave here with a plan, or at least some kind of idea of what they might want to do or where their place might be in the world.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, Effie.
Thank you.
We'll move on now to board reports. Audit Committee?
No report.
Budget and Finance, we have no report. Curriculum Committee?
No report.
Facilities Committee, we have no report. Policy Committee? No report. Public Relations and Communications, Ms. Themis regretfully had a conflict this evening. Technology Committee?
No report.
Any other reports from the board? All right. We'll move in now to unfinished business. We have our final budget presentation and discussion.
Good evening, and welcome to budget presentation number 5, the adoption of the budget. So in tonight's agenda, we're going to review the 24-25 budget, the 25-26 tax cap, the 25-26 proposed Locust Valley budget for adoption, our capital reserve projects, the 3-part component budget, and the budget calendar and the timeline. So the current budget for this year is $96.4 million with a budget increase of 2.65. If you look at the chart, you'll notice that the salaries are 49% of our budget, with the benefits being 23.7%. Of that budget, $88 million is supported through our tax levy. That was an increase of 1.96%. Our tax levy makes up 91.36% of our budget. Our state aid comes in for this year at 5.8%. So as I said a number of times, back in 2011, the property tax cap formula was signed into law to limit the annual growth of property taxes by local governments and schools. So this is our tax cap calculation. If you'll notice all the way at the end, you'll notice that the maximum tax levy increase is 2.7%. This is a historical comparison of the district's tax levy cap to the actual levy. You'll notice in green of the chart is the maximum tax cap levy, and in purple is the actual levy. And as I said on many occasions, the Board of Education and administration are dedicated to minimizing the tax levy because they understand the impact it has to our community. So this is our 25-26 proposed appropriation budget. That's our expense budget of the general fund. The proposed budget is $98,289,148, and that is a budget-to-budget increase of 1.95%. And as we had the pie chart a little earlier with the breakout, you'll notice salaries here are 48.91% of our budget, and our benefits are 23.67%. So our revenues, these are our estimated revenues. You'll notice at the bottom, which is the property tax revenue, that's really our tax levy, and we are budgeted at 2.36%. As of today, we still do not have an approved New York State budget. With that said, the district is forecasting a decrease in two of our aids. The first one is our transportation aid ratio. It's going from 10.2% to 6.5%, and also our BOCES aid. That's an expense-based aid, and when the district spends less, our revenue the following year is decreased. So that results, so if you look at our total non-property tax revenue, that is a decrease, which is why the property tax revenue is the increase. So this is a similar chart of our current year's revenue. You'll notice that our property tax revenue makes up 91.73%, so that's a little more than this current year. And our state aid revenue is 5.41, which is a little less. So I wanted to show you the comparative proposed budget and levies for our neighboring districts. I just want to note that this was taken as of April 11th. You'll notice it is not sorted by our alphabetical. It's instead sorted by the proposed budget, with the highest budget on the top and the lowest on the bottom. You will notice that Locust Valley's budget to budget is 1.95%, which is the second lowest budget in our neighboring districts. The proposed tax levy, we are the fourth lowest district in our neighboring districts. And here's a bar graph that illustrates that same information. The purple is the budget, and the orange is the levy. So Proposition 1 is the 25-26 Locust Valley budget. As I mentioned earlier, there is a budget-to-budget increase of 1.95%, and there is a tax levy increase of 2.36%. Included in this budget is our transfer to capital. We are proposing, of the $2.5 million of our transfer to capital, a little over $2 million is going to be the installation of a multi-sports turf field at Bayville Intermediate, and $471,000 would be the conversion of a freight elevator in the middle school, high school to a passenger elevator, and that's to make it ADA compliant for our students to reach the basement classroom, the classrooms in the basement. So proposition number 2, this is a withdrawal from our capital reserve. So currently, as of 6/30/24, our balance in the capital reserve was $10.7 million. We are proposing a withdrawal of $7.3 million. There are two projects that we are looking to accomplish, and the first one is the middle school, high school multi-purpose cafeteria renovation at an estimated cost of $3.7 million, and the high school library and research center at an estimated cost of $3.6 million. So this will be a separate proposition needing voter approvals during the budget vote. But I just want to stress, this money has already been saved in the district's savings account. That's our reserves. So this will not have any impact to your taxes. And these are just some pictures of both the cafeteria and the library that's coming from our architects. So as required by the state, the district has to present the budget in a three-part component. The first part is the administrative budget, and this represents the Board of Education, administration, financial, auditing, legal, insurance. I don't want to read the screen for everybody. But the administrative budget is 10.2% of the budget. The program budget, which is instruction, services, psychological services, health services, et cetera, makes up 78.33% of our budget. And finally, we have our capital budget, which is the operations, maintenance, repair of facilities, et cetera, and that makes up 11.66% of the budget. On May 7th will be another board meeting where we're going to have a budget public hearing. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions? John? So our transportation aid is based on the wealth factor of our property value. So 3 years ago, there was a blip, and the state considered the property value in our district to be a little poorer. So our ratio went up. So 2 years down the line, they're looking at history, and now it's going down because we're getting richer again. The property value is getting richer.
That's all over the momentum, right?
It's a comparison throughout the state. But it is going from 10.2% to 6.5%, which is the lowest you can go.
And what's the dollar amount?
Of
Of the aid, the 4%, what does that come to? What was the transportation budget amount? How much was that?
the transportation,
And how much are we losing from the state aid?
we're losing approximately a little over 200,000. That's with transportation and with the BOCES. We were really hoping, we were waiting for the state budget to come out, hoping for something different, but I can't plan on something that they're extended again.
The total reserves were 11 million or 10, what was the number?
It's
10.77.
10.7 in the capital.
10.7. What's the reasoning of the board to withdraw $7.3 million? I saw the two projects. We're going to do them over 5 years? Those projects?
The two projects are scheduled as of now to be done next summer. We're teeing them up to be done next summer. Yes.
Why are we doing that? Is there a reason why we're taking $7.3 million out of our capital reserve, which is going to decrease that 1.25% interest that we made to do this work? It's a big chunk.
Fair.
On top of $2.5 million which we do ourselves for the last 7 years.
The two capital projects, we went through a process that began last summer. Given the initial move last spring, where there was a potential for the hold harmless to go away, the board, as we've shared, we have concerns that this year we hopefully will be maintained whole, it looks like. We may even get a small increase. Very quickly down the line, we can see a world where we are not given that amount of money. And in doing that, they can reduce, the state has the ability to potentially reduce our state aid and subsequently say, and by the way, we could relax your controls on your capital budget and utilize that in ways that traditionally we are not able to do it to operate our budget. Our 10.77 is a considerably outsized capital budget for a district of our size. And for that reason, we're using the 4% threshold that is maintained for other reserves in order to utilize that, that best practice, if you will, over our capital reserve as well, and to get 2 substantial projects for the benefit of the entire district.
John, I don't think, is this working? It is? Okay. To piggyback on what George just said, we have been told that our reserves are very high and that it is something that, not just us, but something that the governor is going to be looking at.
Right.
And with regionalization passed, because it passed, we have concerns because we will be able,
Concerns of the governor taking their money back?
or not allowing it, or, we don't know. We actually don't know the answer to it, but there's concern. And on top of that, we started with, I see Laura Desner's here. We started a year ago bringing all the stakeholders around to other districts to show them what other districts are doing. And basically bringing us up to, the modern age of a library and the modern age of a cafeteria. We are lucky, as you know, because you were facilities. We have kept this campus, all of the campuses, in tip-top shape. We really, Eric has us on a phenomenal schedule between tasks and projects and capital improvements. And we have the money to do this without touching the budget. So that's the answer. That's why.
I would also add, I think that's right. That's absolutely right, Margaret. I'll add that I don't know, John, whether she would be able to, the governor would have the ability to claw back money, but I do think the roundabout way of doing that is to give less on the state aid, on the foundation aid, and then subsequently say, and by the way, for a short amount of time, given the financial state, we'll relax requirements around capital reserve budgets, for example, right? And then say, okay, so from our $5 million, we're going down to $2 million in state aid. And hey, Locust Valley, that $3 million, you can now tap your capital reserve to cover that, to cover your operating. So in light of that and wanting to do, as Margaret said, put 2 staple projects, 2 staple spaces that our entire community and the student body can be really proud of and excited to go into and to enjoy, and to do that with absolutely no bond, to do that without impacting the taxpayer, because this is money that we already have, we felt that was a no-brainer for our district.
I am ignorant in the plans. Are you extending the library, or are you going to leave the footprint the same? Of the size of the library?
There's work inside the library.
It's still work on the inside. But you have room in the back, right?
There's rooms that weren't used, there's storage rooms.
No, but I mean, you have actual space behind
Yeah,
the library.
a lot of misused space in there.
Well, I'm just saying, I know we have hard times getting all the contractors together.
Yeah.
To do that kind of work in that specific amount of time.
Yeah.
Is that foreseeable, and is that relaxed a little bit?
Yes, yes, things
Yeah,
are moving,
and
things
we're-
are moving upstate a little bit. Yeah, there's no backlog.
There's
like-
no backlog. It's more efficient. And we feel that we're,
Contracts is good work.
Yes,
Yes.
because the rush that we saw a few years ago has dwindled. So they're a little bit more available, the contractors. We're getting state approval a little bit quicker, not us particularly, but just in general, people are. And, there was some questions about the library. So Dr. Turnow brought an entire group of basically staff over to Southwood's library, and they really got a really good understanding of how a new library works for today's student. And yes, there were plenty and plenty and plenty of books. We brought our librarians there, we brought our principals there, we brought, I think Ken was there, I saw you in the hallway. So it was a really great trip for them to understand the vision of what these libraries are going to look like. And it's going to be fantastic. And as part of the library, we're also talking and thinking about a financial literacy lab. So that's in the works as well as part of the library. But we have a year to figure out those specifics, Right now, it's just the construction end of things.
And we've also worked with the architects, as we shared last month, and looking at the timing of the projects, they're based upon where they're located, both in the high school and sort of back to each other. We believe we can get some price optimization by having firms come on site simultaneously. So we're looking at the possibility, we're going to do the bidding process separately. We're going to do a combined and see where we get the best pricing, with the idea that if you have a firm working on the cafeteria and then suddenly there's a holdup for something, they can move right next door and keep the crew on, as opposed to a duplicate of mobilization, duplicate of demo. That in a sequential sequential summer process, that could lead to additional costs, and we're hoping to streamline by doing it all at the same time. Yeah. Karina?
Hi, I just have a few questions finishing up on capital reserves. So, Margaret, you had mentioned that. You're so far back, can you come up? So I know that you had mentioned that in order to protect the reserves that we have, which are considered relatively large compared to some other districts, that's why we're making this decision to to spend the money that we have and spend it on these projects. The remaining balance, that $3.5 million, how does that compare to either similarly sized districts or similar peer districts with respect to like best practices for keeping those down?
George mentioned that that's the threshold. So the recommended threshold for the state is 4%.
4%.
Am I-
4% of our total budget.
Of our total budget, right? Is that what what is it? Yeah.
For the capital, the 4% is that golden number that Newsday always publishes.
So the 4%
Yeah.
of the
Is the
19
un-
million total budget.
If it's over
Yes.
4%, you're supposed to pay taxpayers back.
Right.
Otherwise you can get in trouble.
Okay, so
And technically, the capital reserve does not have that 4% best practice.
Correct, it does not.
But we're saying we want to apply, we're looking at that best practice to also look at our capital budget because it was so outsized.
And then continue.
what was the 4%? If you're saying that doesn't apply to capital budget, what is the 4%?
The 4% is the unallocated reserves. The unassigned reserves, in which Newsday had a field day with, some districts had more than they weren't allowed to. So that is a legal amount that we could have. As far as how much to keep in our budget under our reserves, that's really a district decision. But it's not just the capital. We have a number of reserves that are added up together. So when the state's looking at how much are in our reserves, they're looking at that number.
But the unallocated reserves are separate and apart from the capital reserves.
Yes.
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 Is 4%.
In that 4%.
And the
Correct.
idea-
Correct.
And our capital
Yes.
amount is also in that 4% range. So just kind of as an analogous comparison.
Yes, it's not legally bound, but we would like to stay there because that is legal for the other reserves. It's a good, safe practice.
Right.
And then again, what we've done over these years, the reason why we have the money is because we have been very frugal.
Yes.
And we put money in every year.
So that was my next question.
Yes.
If you read my mind. We pay into our capital reserve
Yes.
in order to fortify it through our operating budget each year, or
So whenever we have more revenue over our expenses, we allocate that surplus into our reserves.
either capital or unallocated, or is it specifically go?
Well, we only are going to do the unallocated to 4%. That's New York State, right? So we have a number of other reserves. So we have a retirement reserve, retirement contributions. We have a number of them. So it's really, we're looking at the end of the year, we don't want to end the year with a big surplus, because that's not great budgeting, right? So, but it's also we're over $90 million. It's going to swing one way or the other. So our best practice is let's look at what reserve we would put the money into. But it's funded solely by excess of revenue over expenses.
And I don't expect you to have that now, but are those numbers over the last several years, that surplus, is that something that, I can tell you about later, just to see where we've tracked in the past? So
What do we usually
Sure,
put in?
I'm sure that it's sitting there, I don't expect you to. Okay, thank you. And then I guess the last question is that if for these capital projects, they do indeed
No, it will not just get paid. We'll have to go through an additional transfer. Like next year's transfer to capital may include overages, for example, if we foresee it coming in higher. We're working really hard with Eric to keep it exactly at these numbers because he's pretty close generally. Sometimes there's a small amount that Eric can actually absorb in his operating, and he'll cover something. Hey, look, it's a little, but if it looks like we had, for the girls' locker room as well as for the lights, we had an overage. We had to come back to the community and say we did go over. We, in fact, delayed the lights a full year and a half because the pricing really wasn't where we wanted it to be. And we, worked with the architect and with Eric, and we bought a bunch of the stuff directly where we saw that could be a savings, and then we were able to kind of get a more manageable number, but then we came back to the community again and asked for their approval to do that.
You're welcome. I just want to add one thing. Some may say that that's micromanaging on the board's part, but that's how we operate here. And it was really started by John Del Tato, because when you don't operate that way, when the Board of Education is not involved in the overages and the change orders and all of that, that's when you really get into trouble. And, just from the projects, between the supply chain demand issue that we had during the COVID years, there was the work backup. We didn't get contractors, so the bids weren't coming in great because the guys didn't need the work. They just were throwing out crazy numbers. We put some things on hold, and we're not afraid to do that. We're not afraid to be completely transparent and come back to the community and say, listen, we can't do the bleachers this year, or we had to, in the case of the bleachers, this predates, Dr. Turnow, but we had them go back out, break the entire bid apart, and basically Eric became the GC. Right. So we have to do what we have to do to get the number to stay as close to or at the estimate. Prior to COVID hitting, Eric was really coming in, I would say, on every project under budget and under time. The COVID years kind of killed us a little bit, but I think we're swinging back the other way. John.
Because the public should know this. These are the budget on the two capital reserve projects does not have to affect the other vote. It's two separate votes.
That's correct.
Because the public, in past years, we try to bring a turf field. If one didn't fail, the other one failed, then you had to go out for a reason.
Okay, so the question is that, yes, Prop 1 is Prop 1, you vote on Prop 1, and Prop 2 is Prop 2, you vote on Prop 2. One doesn't have to do the other, but we are imploring and really encouraging the community to pass the budget, because it's a sound budget, and to pass the Prop 2, because we're going to have two incredible facilities for the entire community to utilize, and we chose those two because everybody funnels through the high school. Right. So we made it something that at some point in every child's life, they will come up here. You will experience those property, improvements, and your children will experience and enjoy them and learn in a beautiful environment every single day. They spend more time here than they do in our homes. So we want to make it as beautiful and as welcoming and conducive to learning as we possibly can. And there is in the cafeteria a whole section for quiet, for children who get overstimulated. There's a little breakout area. Everything was really brought into consideration. And yes, so yes, John, one doesn't.
No problem. I just wanted to make
But we would like both a big fat yes.
And I would like to end that with, though they are separate, they are different in the sense that Proposition 2 has no bearing on the taxpayers. We have this money set aside for projects of exactly this nature. And Proposition 1 is indeed our operating budget. And I do want to thank Karen for all of her extremely hard work, as well as Dr. Turnow and all the admin this year. They went through this budget line by line by line. They did an excellent job working with all the building folks to really come up with this very, very sound budget that we're proud of. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
No other questions from the board? Moving on, item B we're going to table for this evening and come back to that in a later meeting, the IB and AP testing fees. The next item is the adoption of the 25-26 school budget. Do I have a motion from the board to approve this budget? Margaret, Holly is the second. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Next up, we have a second reading and adoption of a new policy. It is policy 8113, extreme heat condition days. Do I have a motion to adopt this new policy? Matt, seconded. Christina, all those in favor? All those opposed? It's unanimous. Moving on to new business. The first item is an update on Operation Democracy and a discussion about continuing that program and some support of that program through our district. Would anyone like to open that? So we have a request from the district. As we're all aware, our partnership with Operation Democracy, Margaret and Lauren did an incredible job last year with our Remembrance Bowl and the tying of that curriculum to a trip to Normandy. And we've continued that program here in the district through our social studies program. And we are looking to maintain that and continue that program. And they've requested a allotment of resources to be able to send 2 teachers to Normandy again in order to continue that program and to have that celebration.
And then those two teachers, Dr. Zampino can jump in too. So we've worked on this as a team. What we did is we aligned all the work that had been done with other programs such as the Leader in It, to really, for the sustainability of this program moving forward. We also have some ideas as far as even expanding a little bit of the curriculum, making it a little bit deeper, working with our directors and principals on that. And the 2 delegates that will be journeying this year to Normandy, the expectation is they will be coming back and they will be providing professional development to our staff members. So not only, like I said, that we can continue this, but that we can deepen all the work and assembly programs. Yeah, what else did I forget?
Phone is ringing.
Okay. And Dr. Savino said turnkey it here.
Hello. Mr. Anaya made a nice proposal from the Social Studies Department requesting that the district sponsor teachers to learn more about the lessons from Normandy, and then in return, they would then do professional development at the primary, intermediate, and middle school levels for our after-school professional development program that we have, so the teachers can learn. That's within their contract that they come to learn and grow after school. And then another thing that we were looking for is some assembly programs to kind of bring the history to life. And so that's what the proposal to the Board of Education is. Thank you.
Thank you. I hadn't seen any of it. I missed the meeting where the Lieutenant Governor came and you guys hosted a civic roundtable with, I think it was 6 districts. But the takeaway from that is New York State has changed their high school requirements, and one of the pathways for getting your diploma now is a civic seal. And I would hope that these teachers can come back and maybe work with the program so that the kids who are interested in that pathway for graduation, that's another way that we can tie it in at the upper grades. Because I think that would really be beneficial, and then it would be in alignment with New York State standards. And civics is definitely something that is on the top of the Lieutenant Governor's mind. It's also on the top of the New York State Blue Ribbon Commission's mind and the Board of Regents. So I think that it's a perfect opportunity if you guys, are okay with it to have those two teachers go.
And as Dr. Chernow mentioned, we really wanted to tie it into the district-wide initiative, Leader in Me. It just reinforces the key principles of leadership, civic responsibility, global citizenship, and real-world experience. So that's what we have. And thank you, Mr. Anaya.
Do I have a motion from the table to authorize this allocation?
Sorry, how much is the allocation? I'm just trying to figure out what we're,
Yeah, the total cost would be just under $5,000 for the two people for 7 days to Normandy.
And we did this when the New York State came down and mandated Holocaust education. So this is practice, that's had precedence. And the teachers went and they came back and they turnkeyed and they implemented. Basically, they become the stewards, the in-district stewards of this curriculum. That's what they did with the Holocaust, and that's what the hope would be for this, so that no matter who's sitting up here, the fidelity of the curriculum is maintained inside the district.
and the benefit would be, it's a K through 12?
It's K through 12, yep.
I just want to, is it working? I just want to mention that the district had received a $20,000 grant that was applied to civics instruction, and this would be paid through that grant.
Thank you, Karen, for reminding everyone.
Any other questions?
So then, if it's coming from the grant, we don't need a vote. Do we need a vote? I guess we still have to vote, right? Sure, yeah, make it from.
Yeah. Do I have a motion? Nick? Do I have a second? Margaret? All those in favor? It's unanimous. The next item of new business was going to be a discussion on the Nassau BOCES administrative budget. We are going to table that for this evening and taking it up at a later time. We do have next a first reading of a new policy. It is policy 5710, school safety and educational climate reporting. That'll be read again next month for the next meeting. And then next, we have our consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions or would like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Matt, do I have a second? Christina? All those in favor? Margaret, you okay?
Yes.
You good? We're good. It's unanimous. There's no more public comments? With that, Sure.
Sorry, do you mind just coming down to the microphone? Sure. Thank you.
Just the people at home.
Yeah, it's because of the live stream.
I'm sorry, what?
With the live
Oh,
stream,
sure.
it's difficult.
No problem.
I know that you're moving, thank you for seeing me again. I know that you're moving the APIB discussion to next meeting or whatever. I just wanted to see in the big packet that had all the detail of the line items of the budget, the student assessment fees on page 12 of 34, it's about 3/4 of the way down. Is that am I looking at the proper line item for the fees for the tests that I was discussing before? And so that, yes, thank you. So that $73,000 represents for seniors or represents for what you anticipate for all 4 years, or what is that calculated amount? No problem. Okay, so that change was already incorporated into this budget? Okay. All right, thank you very much. So then what you are going to discuss that's being tabled is with respect to what for the API? And this isn't a Karen question. I guess just for the board, the line item that isn't going to be discussed tonight is what about the APIB will be discussed? Because it says about the fees.
I believe the reason why we're tabling it is we want to have a further discussion about further years, beyond next year, how we will handle it.
Okay, so it's about for like the 26, 27 years.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. At this time, the board's going to convene into executive session. Do I have a motion to convene into? Nick, do I have a second? Matt, all those in favor? Unanimous. Get home safely. Thank you all.